Hello there everyone and welcome back. It has been a little bit longer than I would like to try and do another YouTube video for Armada 2, and since we're still sadly going to be waiting a little bit, it feels like, till Season 3 of the ranks get started, it just gives more incentive for me to play around with some other factions. And if by chance we don't get anything by the end of the week, I think what I'm going to do is start implementing the other thing I have in mind, which is just dissecting and looking into specific type of fleet compositions and looking into their strengths, their weaknesses, and how they ideally, perhaps, should be utilized to at least get the full potential of them. For like basic examples, of course, all battleship and frigate type orc fleet, the Impaler Drukhari maybe is another example. I'm gonna have to maybe make a post on the community page just to get some ideas on the kind of fleet compositions that may need a little bit explained, or at least a little bit of dissection to really understand where you're going up against them, or even trying to play as that fleet. That's the intention, that's the idea anyway. But for now, I'm going to dive back into my boarding, my infestation style type of Tyranids, which is the Tyranid fleet I have in mind for the community poll that I have going on for which faction I should play as. And I think on my last check, I think Asiani are just barely eking out ahead of the Imperial Navy. So if you haven't cast your vote yet for what faction for me to play as, be sure to head on over to that. If it's not possible for me to somehow straight up link it into this video itself to save you the trouble. If I am able to do that, you'll probably see it on the top right there. But nonetheless, this is basically what the fleet is in the gist of it. Although, if it was at all possible, I kind of would like to replace this light cruiser for maybe another cruiser for a torpedo kind of centric style. Although, it still has its place for when ships start getting down to like being completely derelict and they have to reactivate their ships. These and the frigates are probably the perfect type of ships to kind of kill off the crew again, essentially. So that way I'm not wasting my more valuable charges of the cruisers, the battleships, let alone waiting the 6-8 seconds I need for the strangled tentacles to actually get the assault action in. But that is the idea anyway, and I've had a lot of fun with this fleet. Hell, I've been playing with this fleet ever since Armada 2's release, in a myriad of different compositions, different ways I've been playing it. But ideally, let's hopefully continue on with the good time I've been having with this, since it does rely a little bit on playing incredibly passive, at least with my cruisers, at least until I can comfortably deny the frigates, or at least deny their fission in some sense. So let's get to start. Well, this is possibly going to be a very simple match, possibly, since the one weakness that Necron have is their crew complement, since their ships are so much more expensive than everything else. And Pyre Asset, ironically, interestingly enough rather, are kind of like the opposite of my fleet composition, whereas they're going to have an incredibly difficult time just because of their immunity to fire. So it's possible this may be an underwhelming match, depending if my opponent takes my boarding damage seriously or not, is really what it comes down to. And actually, I'm trying to remember my hotkey group so that way I have them all set up properly, because the drones are going to be separate, they're going to be grabbing my objectives for me essentially. And you're a light cruiser, I don't want you in this group. There we go, problem solved. 3, 4 there. So I remember my hotkeys properly. It is a lot of control groups, but at the same time, whoops, I didn't want that, and I do it again. Not as a big deal, I suppose. It might be tricking my opponent's thinking Pyre Asset. But these drones, simply put, are going to grab objectives for me. It's going to be a bit tricky, with most of the objectives in the middle of the map. But I'm wondering how aggressive I should get, because again, once I get those effective boarding actions in, their crew should melt incredibly quickly. And with that said, since they don't have anything to disrupt my shield regeneration, I may go with this, since I'm going to want to use reload as often as possible anyway. Otherwise, I gotta remember I can actually use the asteroid belts too. It's going to be a little convenient. And another thing I need to keep in mind is just don't need to rush forward with... And apparently rushes are silent there. That's always a factor with the current state of Tyranid, but I don't want to go too aggressive with my hive ship, because if they get spotted preemptively, even though my opponent's range isn't all that great, I don't want them to be able to focus down my hive ship. So we already know what this is. And are these just going to go to the objectives? Yeah, it looks like they're just going to the objectives. Not a big deal. And if... Well, actually, I kind of want these Krakens in position to support the one drone. Maybe.
The enemy has seized a strategic
Since what are we looking at? The usual 2 battleships and a light cruiser of sorts? The usual in that sense, but where's the other fighter squadron going? Since I kind of lost track of it, it might be in the gas cloud for all I know. That's going to be an important factor. Krakens are probably not a big deal getting revealed. Not so much because they have the 83 armor. They're arguably more durable than the Necron in a lot of ways because they regenerate health 2 health a second as opposed to their frigates, which is have been nerfed quite a bit. And I would like to... Okay, we have fighters there. And maybe if I could bait an inertialist drive, that'd be a great opportunity to kind of board them. Gotta keep in mind, though, that they do have the thing, Star Pulse Generator, which can destroy my torpedoes incredibly well, too. So it's not likely to be as effective as I make it sound. But the boarding itself is going to be pretty effective. I don't see our fighter squadron, so I think it's safe to assume it's in the gas cloud here of some kind. And my scanner pulse is not going to help me in revealing that. And my opponent's going to know I'm revealing them, you would think, because they were going to get an indicator in a moment, so... They might think, possibly, that I'm using my tracking senses. But...
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
I can rush... I can at least do a little bit of boring damage here. And I can take these hits incredibly well, let's not kid ourselves.
The enemy has seized a strategic area.
Well, that's convenient. I should have held fire there. But I would like to board you some. A little aggressive, but hey, if the torpedoes hit, that easily makes up for it. And you could jump out in a moment. Again, this is a lot of the reason why I should have held fire. Makes it a little more convenient, because that tomb ship is all sorts of in trouble now, especially if these assault ships get in. Although, I'm doing a bad job here. Let's see. Well, 13 boarding, that's fine there. We got more assault going in. In 5 seconds, and I'll be able to board this really well. Actually, let's just get ready to kill this now, since both those are now expended. Let's keep that in mind. Both their Star Pulse generators, what I mean to say. And you're still in good shape, but bad facing so far, and I actually want my other 2 ships to... my other squadron to get in here to kind of board. I think I fired boring torpedoes there. Yep. Too little too late there. Huh. Oh, they got mass recalled, so someone definitely panicked. Which, damage is already done there. So let's actually grab these objectives to my benefit. Because that crew is all but screwed. They can regenerate crew, keep that in mind, but this is going to lose a third of it. I'm pretty certain that might lose a third of its crew there, and I'll have the objectives nicely enough. And I didn't really lose anything of real value at the same time. Just, these Krakens might be a bit at risk. So let's just use the cruisers that are currently being revealed. Since my opponent has no idea where the flagship is currently, which is the one thing that could screw me over in hell. Let me also recharge my boarding. That's something I forgot to do when I was playing as Tyranid before. And then I completely forgot I could recharge my torpedoes and assault ships, which is really damn convenient, needless to say. And actually, I don't want you going over there. Stop with your damn group order, ideally. And I gotta remember what's burning retros and what isn't. That's gonna be a bit of a nightmare trying to control this fleet, but hey. My assault... I could recall them,
seized a strategic area.
but hey, it's entirely possible maybe their star pulse generator might still be on cooldown. Probably not at this speed, because keep in mind, these things only go, what, 300 units speed a second? So there's a lot of ships that could very easily outrun that. It goes without saying, although, again, I'm doing a bad job reconcealing myself. It goes without saying. But the flagship is, they're completely oblivious to where a flagship is. We're grabbing all the objectives behind them. And these are all hidden. So if possible, maybe I can just get this drone to do some more boring damage. Since I think the change is now they have to go reactive hull shift, which is that brace for impact stance to regenerate their crew now. Which sadly does not matter for them, since they already lost a third of their crew. But if I could continue to do boarding damage... Well, that's convenient. I don't want to rush because it kind of can give away... Whoop. Actually, let's just kill this crew now. I am going to get marked, but not a big deal. These things have plenty of health after all. And I have the objectives. Well, 4 of the objectives, but I'm in a bad position with that said. Did I get... No, it didn't look like I got any boarding damage. It sadly is looking like. And I can conceal these easily as is. So let's just get everything back in here. We're going to grab objectives in a moment. It's a bit of a slow process, but... Oh. Well, we know where the flagship is. That may not do much for me because it just jumped. Which is fine. We know where it's hidden. It's burnt its 1 cooldown and we're stealthed now. So let's just harass them. Nice slow game of cat and mouse. I do need to actually get actual kills, but we're well underway to doing that. Just maybe my position was pretty bad. Now, since the priority is of course focusing on this, and you're just going to jump, it goes without saying there. I'm hoping I can get... There, I got the scanner pulse. That helps in that regard. So that crew is gone. Until they reactivate anyway, which they could easily do. Let's not kid ourselves. It may not be as exciting as I make it sound. But let's get going. This will distract their weaponry some, which I'm kind of okay with, because they just burnt that 1 charge after all. Which isn't going to do them a whole lot of good, especially now that they're going to get slowed down.
You have accumulated 25% of strategic points.
I hate to break... Well, they might kill the drones eventually. Now, let's actually try and see about killing off the crew here. Since we got an easy way to do that now. And sure, I'm giving away my position, but I got Void Lurker and Adrenal Glands for good measure. I just don't know why you're not moving forward, though, with that said. Since that was none of the aborting ships, which I'm fine with. Alright. You're getting a little antsy there. It might cost you. Because I got some good boarding actions there. That will recover quickly. Let's remember our stances, though. And all that's left is just a scanner pulse for this flagship. And ideally, well, I don't want to fire all my torpedoes. Just in case. Star pulse generator is still a thing after all. As I hinted at there. So, did my torpedoes do any damage? It didn't look like they did any real damage, alas, but this is over. My opponent just needs to realize that it's just going to be a... Well, actually, all that's left is this one ship here, so... Let's just turn and get the boarding action. It is a little bit awkward, needless to say, not having actual broadside boarding weaponry. Outside of maybe my assault boats. Or void... I forget what the dang assault fighters or assault creatures, I guess you could say, are called. They're void eaters, something I believe, for Tyranids. But still, my opponent was sort of taking my boarding seriously, but we already heavily crippled them, since you can't regenerate past that point even despite the Necron's best attempts. If they managed to get away before I hit those thresholds, that could have been a bit of a different story. But hey, with only a single frigate, you can see how potentially that could be a big liability for you. Since sure, reveal the Krakens, I'm perfectly fine with that. In a lot of circumstances, I want the Krakens to die because they leave those spore fields. I just need to be mindful that when they do die, that they can do that, because sometimes I can tend to panic and just try and keep them alive and have them run away, when really they should just stay there. In fact, where's that dang ability? There. No, that's spores. Oh no, it's the ability over here. There we are, spore explosion. I should be gaining closer, but the trick of course will be knowing if they're doomed to die. Since after all, it can... With 83 armor, it's really damn likely that these can survive a lot of outcomes, a lot of situations outside of dedicated lances and pulsars. That would probably be the only thing I can safely say they're gonna die quickly, before I can get them out of the Mark's duration. But still, slowing them down makes it a lot more easier to get aggressive with boarding of all things. Okay, this is the merchant fleet, I'm pretty certain. So once I get on top of them, their ships are gonna milk quickly. But at the same time, their secret missiles are going to be a pain in the ass if they spot the hive ship. If I'm good about my rushes, and I don't think it's possible for the cruisers to just naturally dodge the secret missiles, since I don't technically know when the hitbox ends on the tail. Since there is a lot of situations where I do see the tail getting hit, despite the fact where it looks like it shouldn't be on the 2D plane that we normally see the ships getting hit. Because look at it, it's waving up and down. Normally you think that easily would be able to dodge or even brush off secret missiles, but apparently it'll likely be the death of me if I don't take them seriously. The dang tails, that is. Otherwise, it simply comes down to if I got spot early, and they have a lot of frigates to potentially spot me, so this might be the one situation where I actually want to get super aggressive with my fleet. Since their secret missiles are a little more tricky to utilize, maybe once I get on top of them and actively maybe even ramming them, if I'd be so frank. I may want to just ram them to deny them their exceptional turning speed. It's hard to say because I don't think I really played against Tau at all in my time with Tyranids when I did my week-long focus. So I don't really have anything to fall back on as far as previous experience, but secret missiles can be the death of me, but once I get on top of them, once I get the board in, they're going to melt exceptionally quickly, especially with the cruisers, because the Tau merchant fleet actually have two different type of cruisers, one of which have a lot more troops to them, but cost 218 points. So it's unlikely if it's a 6 cruiser fleet that they're even going to utilize those ships. But the other ones is as squishy as you would expect for a fleet that's really bad at troop boarding. And so far we're looking at 5 ships, which could mean anything. Oh, and I do have noisy rushes. Now, I don't want to say those are war spears, are they? Because normally I think it gives me the option to prioritize the weapons, kind of like with the rocks, as a way to know if that's a cool war spear or not. But that would change the theme of this story a little bit. I'm not going to die quickly, but they have a lot of health to go through. Navigational shields, so this is a lower skilled opponent, at least a lower level Tau fleet, so I'm not at risk of dying horribly to their increased speed and mobility or anything like that. So maybe I could just go right in their face and murder them. But if it is a newer player, I kind of would like to try and give them a good time somehow. It's the one thing I always feel bad about, trying to play Tyranids and Drukhari, never mind Corsairs, properly, which is utilizing your Shroud mechanic to the best of their ability. When it goes well, it means your opponent isn't really doing anything to you, and of course, we know how frustrating that'll be. We've all been on that end, unless you're the Drukhari player in question. So I like to try and make this enjoyable somehow, which means probably getting aggressive, but again, each one of these cruisers, like 2 cruisers, can easily knock out one of theirs. And then I have torpedoes to kind of double up on the other ships if I can hit with them. But how would a Tau merchant fleet deal with this? Well, I played as Tyranids during my time as Tau, and really just launch your fighters in a nice little line, a big massive area denial, if I were to be serious. Now, I'm probably going to get revealed here some. Well, actually, they're going after a drone, which is not a big deal, but... And they are slightly slower than everything else, too. I just got to keep in mind the detection radius is this little blue circle, so I want to kind of avoid that. And how close are we to potentially eating this? I would like to eat whatever ship is there, because 3 boring actions will kill this, if I can get that off quickly. And one more for good measure. Since you have... Oh, I was going to do adrenal glands, and that did not do it. But the crew is dead there. It's on all sorts of fire, too. And then if... And use scanner pulse, so that's just going to burn to death with the 4 fire assaults. Let's keep that in mind. And this gives me an idea. Okay, war spears.
You have seized
Maybe I should jump into there like I was saying before. But, let's see. Well, you're still probably going to burn to death. Let's not kid ourselves. Now let's kill off the other frigate, since apparently they're utilizing the dang light cruisers. Oh, actually I want you grabbing this objective. It did burn to death, even though it technically could have survived there, if I was faster on the brace for impact, maybe. And I could launch torpedoes, since the in theory the war spears can dodge really easily. And hell, I don't want to get spotted by this beacon either. And I don't want to reveal... What do I go after? Well, ideally, I'm assuming, since we're seeing war spears and all that, you figure going with the flagship would be a good idea. But if it's a lower level opponent, they may not even have the Watercast Ambassador, if I were to be serious. So... Nope, this is unfortunate, but... I guess that tells me they have more. But we can lob torpedoes. Yeah, they have a battleship. Can we just board this thing to death, ideally? Because apparently the scanner pulse ruined everything here. And my point defense is doing nice enough trying to shoot those down, but I'm not quite getting the boring actions I want. Again, I probably should go after the flagship. I kind of assumed it was a light frigate of some kind. No, you don't have the Watercast, so... denying your firepower might be good in this regard. And actually, let's get the more boring in. Ideally... because I will take some secret missile hits, that's going to hit hard. Now, the flagship's all sorts of trouble with the boarding, potentially. I just need my shields up for that to really matter just now. Because that crew is pretty crippled. The flagship should lose all its crew, but...
The enemy has accumulated 20
I'm doing a bad job positioning my ships. Oh, they're surviving so far, and once that crew's gone, that'll alleviate a lot of my problems too. Now I just gotta board these other ships quickly before this dies. And can I get boring torpedoes as a bonus? I don't know if they're gonna hit or not, but... that crew's pretty much dead. We can rest easy there. I just... oh, with the beacon, that's gonna be impossible to actually conceal myself. I need to kill off these things quickly. We got drifting hulks. You have foil lurker, but you're gonna take a lot of damage. Let's keep that in mind. And I like to launch torpedoes. Actually, let me recharge your components as well, ordnance. That would help some. I can get out in time. Maybe I should have done that a little bit better. But that crew is gone there. They're exploding. Now, is everything coming? No. I caught 3 of my Krakens kind of going AWOL, sadly. In another 15 seconds, that should be dead. Actually, that might just die, just to sheer attrition. Nope, not quite. But I do have boring torpedoes for that. I gotta hit with the said boring torpedoes first. And then conceal this and hide it. Which should be hit in a moment now it has the boring damage in. A bit of an awkward circumstance, but we could kill off this. I was gonna say maybe I could. But that's actually mutiny. I don't want... disengage, disengage! That's more valuable for me right now, actually having a mutiny as opposed to losing the crew, because that's easily alleviated. Alright, let's finish this off, because we got reinforcements and heavily armored Krakens. And they are probably the Warspear's worst nightmare if I use them properly, although I did not plan this out very well, did I? They may be very effective actually killing the dang capital ship, though. Nope, I can get out of here easily enough. That was a lot of ramming damage I wish I didn't take. But I can easily deal with this. Nope, I think my Krakens are dead. Actually, let me keep ramming you. Oh, never mind. The ship destruction caused the mutiny. That was a bit awkward. Since I was afraid of seeker missiles, heavy seeker missiles, but thankfully it wasn't like the 6 cruiser fleet, but at the same time, I don't know how I should have seriously took that match. It is a lower level fleet with that said, since the crew war spears just because they are more resilient at boarding, never mind the fact they really have an easy time dodging my bio torpedoes if my opponent can utilize their mobility to their greatest strengths. So in theory, going after them could be a huge mistake. And I didn't really think on how long my ships would have lasted. I kind of thought all 3 of those cruisers were left to die if I were to be serious. I figured with that, I thought all this time it was a light cruiser that was the flagship and not an actual battleship, so I figured I took out all the frigates and did not consider that there was a battleship, which almost could have cost me there. So we have ourselves a bit of a rematch with our opponent here. I kind of was contemplating whether I should record this match or not, but hey, it was tenuous enough with the last match, so I guess I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt in case they have learned from the last battle. Since it's always possible they mixed up their fleet, and never mind the fact that those seeker missiles themselves can be a real pain in the ass, but if I'm good about utilizing these additional point defense and them not shooting down my shields, in theory I might be okay, and they don't have a way to kind of deny me from recharging my shields too, so this should be pretty good. We'll see what happens with that said, since I have my drones going where they're supposed to go. At least grabbing the objective at least. And we have more of the same there. Noisy rush, which is fine by me. That just means it's kind of working as intended. So, looks like the same kind of fleet as before. Hell, I should probably destroy the deck. It seems unlikely. Huh. This is actually a different fleet here. So, these are all battleships, if I have to understand. If they're the ones with the seeker missiles, I could be in trouble a little bit. Could be. But the same strategy is as it should be before. I want to get aggressive boarding in. Ideally, with anything that is not... Well, with my Krakens, ideally. To soak up the brunt of the damage. And keep in mind that they could... Yeah, they maybe should be launching fighters, maybe. But at the same time, if those fighters are still out when they want to use seeker missiles, I can kind of punish that amazingly, because I didn't even use my own fighters, my Harpies, to help deal with the seeker missiles the best, and even then, I did soak up the damage pretty decently, but I could have done it so much better too, even for nothing else to kind of distract the fighters. And in a way, I should be using my... I should seriously be using my... my flagship to kind of serve as bait. With the Void Lurker, Double Rushes, it could do pretty well. Never mind, it has three fighter bays to help with dealing with the seeker missiles too, to an extent. I just gotta remember to use it after my rushes and after my Void Lurker, primarily. And otherwise I don't hear any more boosting, which could mean anything. And I have my entire fleet kind of in an awkward position here, at least grouped up together. I'm wondering if I want the Void Prowler to... Is it the Void Prowler? Yeah, Void Prowler. I want the Void Prowler to maybe take point. And they're probably all battleships, let's not kid ourselves. Oh, you switched your fleet composition, didn't you? Okay, so I was thinking maybe... Yeah, it's a protector fleet. So what would those 4 ships be in that case? I was thinking they were battleships all this time. I sadly didn't get quite the boarding I would like, but hey. I got chameleonic skin, and they're at no risk of getting shot at. So let's... Ooh, my drone's just eating their warden right now too, so that's pretty convenient. So... Okay, custodian all that. Alright, that's fine. So I got all the strangle tentacle I want, yep. I would have liked to ram it, but it was a bit random. Oh god, you did get detected. That's a shame. But you're doing the mistake of launching your fighters at a bad time. You should be having everything else complementing it. And fighters, oh god. I didn't want you to ram yourselves ideally. That would have been kind of nice. And I want the seeker missiles to just get shot down ideally. So a lot of them are getting shot down, but not quite enough. And everything's on burning retros as well. But we know there's only 3 warrants to deal with. Fighters are going to deal with their bombers incredibly well. And now, I just gotta mark and board their ships again. Because you're doing a bad job taking these Krakens as seriously as you should. So I'm gonna punish you for that. Ideally. Sure, my cruisers took a lot of damage, but they're hitting now. I do need to actually do damage with that said. And if I can ram these, that'd be best case situation. And one of my Krakens is dead, but... Actually, I did mark you as well, so... I thought I marked you, but I guess... Oh, I burnt cooldown on everything, didn't I? Alright. Now, can I have them get hit themselves? That would be kind of nice right now. Not quite the best that it could have been, because I need the rest of my fleet in here too. Since the damage doesn't mean a whole lot to me, I guess, truth be told. And I was saying maybe I could use that as a bait, but that was getting that aggressive was probably a mistake. Probably a mistake, but just get in the damn boring. That's what I need right now. Sadly, I don't have the means to jump anymore, so morale is a big issue here. Oh, that explains a little bit of my problem. You don't have what I want there, which is the charges. I keep forgetting. Let's see. And I'm gonna have suffer. Damn it! I really do need to pay attention to burn retros, since it is causing me a little bit of problem. Yeah, Feral Instinct's definitely gonna bite me in the ass there, just for being how aggressive that I am with the dang flagship. But you're actually mutinied. That's good enough. You're sadly gonna break. Unless you could conceal yourself. You're not marked, so there's always the possibility of that. And I am going to reveal myself doing this too, so... This is not over yet. Not by a long shot, but I do need to do... I gotta be mindful of my morale. So I can't waste my morale. And actually, with the assault boats that are about to hit, that I should be able to just kill off the crew. Yeah, especially since my shield, or at least my shield was, dealing with this. Actually, my shields can recharge relatively well, relatively quickly at least. Now, let's get the boring actions in. And ideally not ram ourselves.
The enemy has accumulated 50% of strategic...
What did I just say, damn thing? Are they? Oh, the dang thing was on cooldown still. That's irritating. Do I get the assault action I want, though? Nope. Doesn't look like it, alas. That cost me big time. Maybe I shouldn't have gotten so aggressive with the flagship. I did not plan that out the best. Especially since if you get rammed, that's going to cause me more morale issues too. Yeah, this is pretty much over here. I can't do enough damage, especially with the one ship that has all its fighters at bay. I can at least deal with a lot of the damage, but having those 3 cruisers break on me is definitely breaks it for me. It costs me big time. Especially since these warners can melt. So yeah, that's a demonstration why the flagship needs to be as passive as it can be. This wouldn't be nearly as much of an issue if I got the boring damage on this one ship. Because these drones alone are really damn good at keeping themselves hidden. Especially if they kill off these frigates, which are being neglected after all. As it stands now, I can't really deal with this the best. Especially with a slow drone. And grabbing the objectives is not possible.
You have accumulated 25%.
I just want the frigate to melt, ideally, since we're not quite killing off the crew, and these things are a bit of a burden. So I guess for my opponent, I'm kind of glad that, well, this Strangle Tentacle's not going to do much, is it? It's just going to disconnect immediately, I think. Especially since I'm going to get revealed in a moment, but You're actually going to break on morale in a moment, and maybe you'll catch on fire as a result of that. Alright, let's see if we can do something about this. I don't think I can win this just because this one protector has the troop count to keep itself alive easily enough. And I'm not really getting any fire assaults either. But I can conceal this easily enough. So that might get shot again in a moment, but... And I will, in 10 seconds, be able to reveal them. Okay, that's finally gone. Bombers did not do anything, but... Ooh, I could kill off the crew here, potentially. Because you have nothing seeing me, right? Oh, I am marked. Alright, so much for that. Let's see. And potentially kill off the crew there. Maybe. I'm not far enough away and I'm still marked, essentially. So that's not going to do me much good. I'm just trying to fight for the hope of maybe something sticking, but they already got the point value. And just having them as drifting hulks don't really do anything for me. Whereas, interestingly enough, the tabletop game, if they were drifting hulks, you basically got more points. Because it's an intact wreck after all. But here, they amount to nothing. I cost myself that damn match. So let's see if we can correct this a little bit. Since after all, like I said, the flagship needs to hang back and just wait patiently. Because hell, it was a situation where I expected the cruisers to kind of die a horrible mess there. And they dealt with the seeker missiles pretty damn well. If only they hadn't rammed each other. I thought all their rushes were available when I did that maneuver, so that stinks.